Hey, everybody. Welcome to Stronger Together with Mark and Matt. Hey, Matt, what's happening, buddy?
What's good, Mark? Nice to see you, my friend.
Yeah, man, it's nice to be seen. Just running around crazy like usual. Just getting ready to travel to Ireland with the wife. Taking a little birthday trip for her, combining it into our anniversary gift as well as my gift. So it's like a
Uh,
3-in-1 package deal going to Ireland.
when do you leave?
We leave on the 17th before this recording is released because we'll be in Ireland during this record while this is being aired.
Wow.
And then we come back on the 28th. And then, of course, everything has to be set up because we have the Abilities Expo in September,
Yes.
the first weekend in September in Arizona, in Phoenix. So I'm
Yeah.
getting ready for that with the Mark Network. Um, just crazy, man. It's crazy, and I can't wait for you to get in and share all the craziness that's happening with you because I know you're busy as well. A
Of
lot of brief
course.
conversations that we'd be able to have. But hey, everybody, like I said, welcome to Stronger Together with Mark and Matt. We got an amazing guest and Seth coming up. Matt will be introducing him in a minute. Just want to give you a little background about me. Mark Fucarell, Boston Marathon bombing survivor, 2013, lost my right leg above the knee, salvaged left limb, 3.5 years, long road to recovery. Uh, Founder of the Mark Network, Mobility Awareness Resource Community, and the founder of the Remarkable, REMARCABLE Foundation, nonprofit 501c3. So, Matt, with me being done, giving my brief intro about myself, tell the listeners a little bit about you, Matt.
So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Matthew Castelluccio. I am a wheelchair user for the last 23 years. I work for an organization called United Spinal Association, service all wheelchair users across the United States, providing them with support and resources and overall a community that they can reach out to connect with others to find support and answers to any questions they might have. Um, so Mark and I launched this podcast. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Purpose of this podcast: share resources, information, and connect you with individuals in the community doing some great things and resources in the community. Mark, before I introduce my guest, anything new in the Mark Network? Any or the Markable Foundation?
We do have, let's say, I've been onloading and onboarding for the last couple of weeks. Two new employees for the Remarkable Foundation. They're doing amazing. They just launched a new website. We're going to be running some campaigns for a celebrity softball game to raise some money. We're going to be raising money, giving away some cash to a veteran, double amputee above the knee, Purple Heart, combat wounded veteran, Nick. So looking forward to seeing how much we can raise for him, how much we can raise for the celebrity game to give away. Other than that, I just placed an order with Enabled Gear.
Okay.
This woman who makes these wheelchair backpacks for wheelchairs for the rims of the wheelchair.
Oh,
I
yes.
just Yeah, so I just placed an order with her last night. So we're gonna have some giveaways for the Remarkable Foundation to give away to a couple lucky lucky individuals at the Phoenix, Arizona Abilities Expo. So for those who can't
Okay.
afford it, that's who can't afford the product that could really benefit from the product. The Remarkable Foundation will have them fill out an application, and if they're a member of the Mark Network and everything, and we'll get them hooked up out there. So that's pretty much it.
That's great. That's excellent. Those. I know those rim covers. They're really neat. The woman does a great job of printing them up. I mean, any design you want, comes up with some cool things, ways to enhance your wheelchair. Um,
So
so
you have a lot going on. Why don't you
I
tell people
do.
about your
I
or you can't?
um.
I don't know if you can.
Well, I mean, I can, so we're in a transitional period at United Spinal. So I've been selected to be the interim CEO for the time being. carry over. Unfortunately, I'm happy for him, but our CEO is moving on. He's been with us for almost 5 years. He moving on to some other great adventures. So in the meantime, while we are searching for a replacement, I get to fill the role. So it's exciting. An exciting experience for me to learn that role. It enhances kind of my experience in the nonprofit world. So, yeah, so I mean, it's exciting. It's overwhelming. They're big shoes to fill. So, exciting things. And, we are at United Spinal. We are, you know, really working hard in a lot of areas. One of our big areas that I've mentioned in previous shows was our disaster relief efforts, right? So, we've uh, We've been fortunate to receive some funding from Craig H. Nielsen Foundation, and we've been working with our chapters to ensure that, they have monies in hand to be able to support individuals that are impacted by any disaster relief. Doesn't have to be a catastrophic event. It could be a storm and a tree branch falls on your house, and it's damaged. You don't have the resources, homeowners is not covering it. You don't know what to do. Something was damaged, your wheelchair was damaged, flooding, whatever, you could reach out to United Spinal and we could provide you with some financial support to help you get back on your feet. So we are working with our chapter in Texas. We have a bunch of chapters right now signed on, Florida, Texas, North Carolina, South Carolina. If you want to learn more about it, you can reach out to me directly at United Spinal, and I'll help you. You go to a resource page, and you'll find the link for it. Outside of that, our team is working hard at United Spinal to provide a vast array of programming. We are pushing hard in our advocacy realm. As you know, there's been some changes to some things that impact us, and we're trying to assist our community to ensure that, the changes, that before changes take place, that any congressional leaders are aware of, you know, the impact it will have on our community so that they will, address that and, so I mean, we're working hard. We invite everyone to become their own advocates. Change only happens if you step up and make a change. We need the community at large to step up and become advocates. Get involved in your local advocacy efforts. Get involved in your state advocacy efforts because you know through you guys is where change comes. Your voice is more powerful than you would imagine, and it's not a huge investment. Sometimes it's just signing a letter or something. But so that's kind of what's going on in my personal life. I'm getting ready also to leave town to go to a well-deserved and earned vacation in Orlando, Florida, with my kids. So I'm excited for that to get away, and check out the new epic park at Universal Studios. Oop, we lost your sound. You're muted.
How did that happen? I must have hit that.
Uh,
I remember being down in Disney when I did the half marathons down there with Achilles International, and my son was real little, and we took him to all the parks. And man, you're pushing and you're pushing. All of a sudden, people just stop to take a picture right in the middle of the street, like, and you're running into people, and then you're trying to get up on the sidewalk, but everybody's standing in the one location that you can get up on the sidewalk, and I'm in the wheelchair going, and they're looking at you, and I'm like, can you move? Like, it's the only place I can get on the sidewalk. Like, and I'm I couldn't. Me and my wife just went out to when we're in LA for the LA Expo. We
yeah,
brought her niece out with us, and it wasn't that bad out in LA, but Orlando was bad, man. Like
yeah.
down there in Florida, it was a challenge, man. And
Yeah,
people just
well,
don't get it.
I mean, it is challenging. A lot of people in one park, one area. It's loaded up, but the parks have made great effort trying to accommodate. We found this pass that will provide us opportunities. I don't know. if you're aware, my one son has some challenges.
Yes, I
Sometimes
am.
waiting on lines is very difficult, you know. So Universal has a pass that allows almost like a fast pass where you don't lose your place online, but you don't have to be present online, right? So you can
Yeah.
register, and they also have a waiting area off the line. So like for him, he can go and sit off the line, so he doesn't have to be kind of confined to an area. So they've made an effort. We found a few other support systems. I'm excited. Not looking forward to paying for it because I just saw some of the costs of things. I'm just blindly signing over, the credit card to my wife and letting her charge. But I'm excited. It'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be fun. You'll have fun. You'll love it.
Yeah.
So we have a guest
Oh
backstage.
yeah.
Do you want to let the
Yeah.
listeners
So I
let our viewers know about our guest?
Yeah, I'm excited to have one of my fellow co-workers. He's a Paralympian, a father. He's also one of our VPs of the New Mobility magazine. He oversees that department. I'm excited to hear his story through his recovery from his injury he has achieved some great things. So I'm excited to introduce everyone to Seth McBride, our guest for this evening.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
What's up, Seth? How you doing today?
Doing well.
No. So Seth, welcome. There you are. Welcome to the Stronger Together with Mark and Matt podcast today. We're excited to have you. We want to hear all about you and for you to share your story with all our guests. Seth, where are you located at? Where are you from?
I'm originally from Alaska. I moved down to the Oregon area to go to college shortly after my injury, and have kind of stuck around the Pacific Northwest ever since then. So lived in Portland, Oregon for about 10 years, and now I live out in a little town called White Salmon, Washington, which is just about an hour east of Portland, small town on the Columbia River.
Yeah, it looks very rustic where you're at. The images I've seen, is that true?
Yeah, I mean, we live on property. We've got adjoining property to my parents, which is great. With two young kids, they can run up to the grandparents' house and hang out with them and get out of our hair for a little while. But between our property and my parents' property, there's about 7 acres. And
wow.
Yeah, it's quite a bit around us. Luckily, neighbors are pretty far away, but it can be a lot to manage and to get around. Definitely, as a wheelchair user, there are only a few areas that I can actually get to in my everyday chair. Otherwise, I got to be on an ATV or in my mountain bike or something like that to actually get everywhere on our property.
Yeah, I seen you navigating on some of the videos that you make. I mean, yeah, it seems to be a test of your ability, your wheelchair skills to get around.
Yeah, we do not live in an area where there are many flat areas, so I definitely have to get good at going up and down hills, especially in the dirt.
I guess that's why you purchased that mountain bike of yours. You have now. What's the brand you have now?
I've got a Bowhead Reach, which is fantastic bike. I would highly encourage anyone who's into mountain biking or into, just getting off the beaten path and going to explore nature to check them out. Bowhead is the name of the company. They make, power assist, and mine's a full power mountain bike. The cool thing about these bikes is they've got ones where the front end articulates, so you can actually lean the bike, and you can have a narrow front end because you can lean it that can handle side slopes and things like that. So I can get out with the family and go on regular single track mountain biking trails and hiking trails and stuff like that. Because it's got power, they're not waiting for me. I'm able to kind of keep up with everybody and just, be part of the team and go out and enjoy things and have fun.
Sounds sweet.
Me and Matt love Bowhead. I mean, they're going to be on the podcast. I just talked to them a couple weekends ago out at Chicago. Was I in Chicago? No, I was in Houston at the last Abilities Expo in Houston. And I had a conversation with them again and said, hey, do you guys want to do a recording or you want to go live? And they're like, we go live. Those guys. I mean, if you met them, they're phenomenal. Yeah. They have such amazing advancements and some great technologies. Their new wheelchair that they just released, it's the wheels can move in the front, back, side, thin it out, skinny, small. It's so adjustable. It comes apart. It really, I like the mountain bike. I want the 4-wheeler with a seat in the back for my wife so we could go trailing. But my wife said she'd never get on it with me because she doesn't trust my driving.
Convince them to do. Yeah, they're great people though, for sure. And Christian, who designs everything, is just incredible designer, and they've got a good team there. So some of the advancements they made have been pretty incredible in the past couple of years, especially seeing what some of the guys with who they've got some people riding for them who are high level mountain bikers and motocross athletes before, and some of the stuff they can do on these bikes is just it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I've seen some videos and stuff. So Seth, you mentioned that you were born in Juneau, Alaska, right? You want to tell us a little back history on you? How were you injured there and came to the U.S. after injury there, or a little bit about your backstory?
Yeah. So I grew up in Juneau, and I was kind of the, lifelong athlete, outdoor sports kind of kid. Like, was into team sports when I was little. And then as I got into high school and things like that, really got into skiing, rock climbing, mountain biking, that kind of stuff. And was super into skiing. And summer in between my junior and senior year of high school is when I got injured. I was actually down at Whistler for a couple of months during the summertime, like sleeping in the back of one of my buddy's trucks and hitting the summer glaciers at Whistler. And I was at a camp up there and did a backflip on a large jump and hit it with too much speed, over rotated the backflip. So, I always tell people if you're gonna do 1.5 backflips, just do 2. You don't want to go with the half, which is what happened to me. So I landed on my neck, broke my neck at C7-8, and ended up doing rehab in Seattle at Harborview Medical Center in Seattle. They were a fantastic facility. So that was kind of the start of my senior year of high school, was in rehab. But then made it back to Alaska after getting out of there. Spent, first winter in Alaska, which really motivated me to get to college the next year so I could get down to somewhere where the winters were a little less snowy and nasty and difficult to get around in my wheelchair. So
just a little shorter.
Yeah, exactly. So I went to college at University of Oregon in Eugene, which I just loved, and had a lot of fun there. And that's actually where I started playing wheelchair rugby with the local team up in Portland. It was kind of the first real adaptive sports thing I did after my injury.
Who introduced you to rugby? Was it just being present at the school? Someone grabbed you? Like, how did you get started?
It was actually, I was just like sitting in my dorm room looking around on the internet for, sports to do. And, Matt, like as a quad, there really aren't that many options, or back then there weren't that many options for sports you could play at a high level. So I happened upon a video that was kind of the highlight video of USA wheelchair rugby winning gold in Sydney. And, I saw kind of the intensity of the sport and just like the, Sydney was an incredible venue, and there was 10,000 people in the stands, like going crazy. And US won gold against Australia. It was just like one of those environments that gives you chills, even watching a video on the internet. So I saw that, and I was like, oh man, that looks awesome. And looked up to see if there's a team around me, and there was. So I got a hold of them and went out to practice.
Wow. Yeah, it's an eye-opening sport. It's, as an athlete all my life, I tried to, after my injury, return to some of the sports that I played previously, and I found it sometimes challenging and frustrating. And then when someone mentioned rugby, I'm like, what is that? And it was the first sport for quads that, like, I felt like I can actually be. I wasn't filling a slot. Like a wheelchair softball, I was filling an obligation for the team to have a player. Like I wasn't, but then when I came out on the rugby court, it was like opened up a whole new opportunity. It was like, and a whole new community of guys that understood some of the struggles and challenges, So you started with Portland, and then what led to, right away, did you set that goal for Paralympic, or did it just evolve over time? How'd that come about?
It happened all pretty quick. Like the first season or two that I played, I was kind of, enjoyed it, but wasn't super serious about it, and had other things going on between school and I was an international studies major, so I spent some time abroad, and rugby was kind of, a secondary thing. But after, I started playing it, played a couple of seasons, and realized that I had a little bit of potential in the sport. It was just like, all right, this is fun. Like I want to do this well. Now, what's that going to take to do it well? And the answer is, with anything, is always a ton of work. So I, started putting the work in outside of practice, things like that. And I was kind of lucky in my timing in that, right around the time I started getting serious, there was a development year. So the Athens Paralympics happened, which was the Paralympics that was chronicled in the amazing movie Murderball. And I had a couple of my teammates who were my coach, and then another teammate, Will Grew, who were a part of that team and that experience with that movie. We're on the Portland team, and the next summer, basically all of the people who've been playing at the Paralympic level were taking a year off, and there was a development opportunity for newer players to come in and be part of the development team. So I was lucky enough to kind of get my foot in the door that way, to be able to come in and start with the USA development team, and learn, just what it took to be, traveling to camps, to be playing rugby for 8 hours a day, for 3-4 days at a time for camps and things like that. And had a blast doing it, learned a ton. And then I was fortunate enough to make my first full USA team in 2006, which was a World Championships year. And that was, kind of when I started with USA, which was, I guess, 3 seasons after I first started playing.
Wow. What's it like traveling? I'm sorry, Mark. Go.
No, it's just I could foresee, this kid from high school skiing these crazy glaciers in the summer, sleeping in the back of his car, doing backflips where you break your neck. Of course, once you start playing something, you're like, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna get good at it. I can, like you were a good enough skier to be doing backflips, and so I figured it wouldn't have took you too long to, once you decided, like, you know what, I think I want to contribute to rugby, and next thing you know, like you said, you're on the Paralympic team.
Yeah, I mean, well, you guys know, and like anybody who's been through a disability knows, like it doesn't change your personality. It just, changes how you go about doing anything. So if you were motivated for sports or whatever it is beforehand, you're gonna be afterwards, and it's just, changing how you do things a little bit. It might take some time to get back into it and relearn your body and things like that, but doesn't really change the motivation levels.
Yeah, that's what I kind of wanted to share, like in that sense, because people ask my brother, who haven't seen me really since the accident. We grew up in a small town. I'm all over the place now, and I'm really not in that small town anymore where I grew up. So my brother's a local police officer. So everybody we grew up with grabs him and is like, "Hey, how's your brother? Like, did it change your brother?" Because they all knew me as this crazy, outgoing, person, and active and wild, and and they're like, my brother's like, "No, he's the exact same person. He's just a lunatic. He does anything, does everything, just packs up and goes, doesn't, nothing holds him back. He's still that same person." And I just thought that was a good moment to share with our listeners, like, obviously just pointing out that, oh, here you are, that kid doing backflips. So how it's not easy to be doing backflips on skis, right? And if that's how you hurt yourself, once you find yourself finding another sport you're kind of getting interested in, you'll just be good and you'll put in the work and effort because you know what it takes to get there. And congratulations, man. That's huge.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
That's huge. Congrats.
Did you? I mean, I'm just curious because it seems like the time frame between your injury and going to college was a very short time period. So, was there an adjustment period for you post injury that you struggled with, or did you just embrace it right off the bat and say, let me do?
I didn't embrace it for sure. That was, I was super frustrated all the time. Like, I think the one thing is I accepted the injury and that, like, I was pretty, aware that, like, there wasn't going to be any miracle cure right away. Like, I wasn't going to be up and walking. This is how it was going to be. So, like, I was at least able to make that mindset shift pretty soon and start working towards this new normal. That said, like, I was pissed off a lot, and I was fortunate in that I had parents who were willing to let me struggle. I told them pretty quickly that, like, if I wanted help, I would ask for it, and they respected that. Would have to hear me cussing in my room as I was trying to, get my pants on or do whatever I needed to do. But you go through that struggle, and things get a little bit better every time, and that's kind of the only way you relearn how to do stuff is by being, maybe there's people who don't get mad about it.
Yeah.
Just go through it with a great personality, but I was not always one of those people. It's just I had the motivation to go to school. That was probably my big one. Is I set the goal to, like, I wanted to go to college with my friends, like, at the same time, and not take a year off or whatever. And to do that, like, I wasn't willing to have, I had enough function that I knew I didn't need to have caregivers or assistants or anything like that. Like, I was, leaving rehab, I was able to do transfers and things like that. So it was something that, being a super independent kid, like, I didn't want that. So that was kind of my goal, was to get independent enough that I could go to school on my own, whatever that was, 9 or 10 months after I got home for rehab. And there's a lot of things from even, learning how to self-cath or do my bowel routine, things like that, took me right up until that 9-month mark. But I kind of figured out and was able to get down there and start going to school. And then, you're on your own in the wilds, in the dorms and things like that. You got to figure it out, and you got to figure out how to be okay asking for your friends for help when you need help with stuff too.
So true, man. So true.
Well, that's a big message, is, with that I love so much about so many people don't get, is ask for help, ask for support. So many people want to support, want to help. It takes a community, man. It takes a community, person with, I call able body freaks or whatever, two-legged freaks. But even for us, like, it takes a community to help us, it takes a community to help anybody out there in the world. We all need help, no matter any challenge we're facing. If we're even challenging, having challenges to face, support. I mean, why not support one another? Why not help one another? It just makes everything go easy. We're all in the same boat. We're all struggling with something. If it's depression, divorce, marriage, buying a home, college, school, amputation, spinal cord injury, loved one battling cancer. I mean, just support each other. I mean, it's not hard, you know. And some people get tied up on asking. They think it's like weakness. It's like it's not weak. It's not. Like life shouldn't be difficult. You know, let's make it a little easier for each other.
Yeah, for sure. I think asking for help, that, you know, that's one thing that it took me for a while to figure out. It takes people a while to figure out. I think the more you can, for me at least, it was kind of when I got to the stage, the more I could be able to do for myself, the easier it became to ask for help, because it was more of a like, this is going to take me forever to do this. Like, maybe I can do it, but I don't feel like spending the next 2 hours doing whatever this is. If I ask for help, it might take me 15 minutes. So let's get on with the day, kind of thing.
Yeah. That's and then there's a difference between a person, because we all know those people in our community that they just want everybody to do everything for them. And it's like, we're enabling you now and you're just being lazy. You know, like, so there's a balance. There's a time that, we got to let people get through it, because then we're not helping them at that point. We're truly just hurting them.
I got to ask you, what is it, you know, as a rugby player myself, but I'm not at Paralympic level. What is it like to go on that podium and have a medal hung? What's it like to score that final goal and see that last second?
I mean, it's, you know, it's everything you would think it would be. We were able to win gold at the Beijing Paralympics. And that was, you know, it's 4 years, 2-a-day workout, 6 days a week kind of situation of, you know, being a 20-year-old and not going out drinking with your friends in the summertime because you're training the next morning and things like that. So like, it's incredible. It's, you know, when you put in the hard work like that and you put in that kind of effort, and then you're able to achieve something with your team and have it all come together where everybody's, you know, pulling the same direction, and it, you know, those games, like, they can go either way. You can be the best team in a tournament, and if you don't come out, you know, firing every single time, like, it's easy to get taken down, which is, you know, has happened to Team USA and other Paralympics, has happened to teams I've been on. So I think I didn't quite know like how rare that moment was when it was happening, because it was my first Paralympics then and we were able to win gold, but the kind of emotional release is just as incredible as you would imagine it is.
Well,
it's everything you work for, right?
Yeah.
All that hard work finally paying off. And you know, people don't understand really the sacrifice and the commitment that you made. Like you said, not going out with your friends, not drinking. Like, that's hard for a 20-year-old. That's hard for, like, you know, a lot of people to keep that commitment. And, you know, I don't think people really truly recognize that unless they've lived it or are close to someone that has sacrificed that. You know, a lot of people mention these athletes, like, I'm talking able-bodied athletes, NFL football players, basketball players, you know, just expect them, like, oh, they're lucky. Like, oh, yeah, they're spoiled. They're crying about their money they're making. I'm like, whoa, you don't know what it takes to get to that level. And it's the same with what you, like, you know, you work with, why did he get to play in the Paralympic rugby team? Like, no, because he put in that time. He put in that sacrifice. He missed birthdays. He missed, you know, vacations. He missed, you know, memories with his friends and his family. And people don't get that. They think, I don't know what they think, but they think, like, you know, man, that's dedication. I watched the Paralympian friends of mine that play hockey, Jack Wallace and David Eustace and all those guys, man, and God bless them. I mean, David, every time I talk to him or talk to his dad, he's in the gym, he's working out, he's got a session, he's got a game, he's got, you know, it's a lot of work. People don't, man. So Seth, man, congratulations. I'm glad that all that work and all that sacrifice paid off, because it seems like you would have been a little bit mad if it didn't.
I would have been mad. You know, I've been to, fortunate enough to have been to 3 Paralympics. So we went to Beijing and London. We won a bronze medal, and Rio won a silver. And I think the thing that people don't realize about team sports, at least when you're winning a medal like that, is that in order to win that medal, like, you have to lose a heartbreaking semifinal or final game. And so the emotions on that medal stand can be very, conflicted. You're proud of what you've done and, what your team's done and all the effort that was put in, but you're still coming off of something that, might have been one goal here or there, and you have that heartbreak at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, Matt. Do they have like a response team for that? Like a therapy team? Like, honest, like, I'm not saying to be like wimpy or like whatever, but like for a young man, like your first, well, let's say it's not you. Let's say it's a guy that's in London and it's his first one and he's young and he's never had a real bad beat like that. He just had been fortunate enough to be naturally gifted to make it there, get all the way, get so close, and then lose. Like that could really weigh a lot on a young athlete like that. Like, so I'm just asking, like, I don't know because I'm not any skill at that level, but would the U.S. Paralympic Committee have some kind of resources for you guys as players, as all athletes?
Yeah, when I was involved with it, there wasn't anything at like the broader organizational level. That said, like, our team had started invested in like sports psychologists and things like that when, by the time I was leaving. So most teams now have some sort of sports psychology services. And then, the other, the benefit of team sports is that, like, you have been, if you're a young guy on the team, you're around veterans, you're around people who have been through it, who can help put things in perspective for you and, like, make you see the bigger picture a little bit.
Yeah, that's one thing I did notice with a lot of those highly competitive teams. You guys win together, but you lose together as well. You support each other, and it doesn't get down to like the blame game. It gets down to, all right, we all put our efforts in. We're all, so, but I would imagine there's definitely a lot of hardship when I've seen those games come down to 1 point. It's tough. But so outside of rugby and all that, tell us a little bit about, I know you're a dad, right?
I am. Yeah, I've got 2 kids. My son Ewan is 8 years old, and I've got a daughter, Lou, who is 4 now. So that's fun. That's where most of my energy outside of work goes to now, is chasing them around. But it's great living out in the country. My son is, into all kinds of sports and mountain biking and stuff like that. So, I get to be involved with that. And then, my daughter is just starting to learn about all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty awesome. Matt, being a dad, like, it's all consuming, but it's as amazing as you want to make it.
The greatest job, in the world. It's frustrating, but it's also, I mean, when I step back and see my kids doing things, that I used to do, or that, see them grow and evolve, it warms my heart better. It's the best paycheck anyone could give me when, now is your son as wild as you were back in the day and as
No, my daughter is actually the fearless one. My son is a little more cautious, which apparently is a thing with firstborn. I don't know. I was the younger sibling. So yeah, he's a little more cautious. My daughter was, she would crawl full speed head first and not stop until she hit something with her head. And that trend has continued. So
my son comes in late last night. He's 17. He's about to be 18. He comes from hanging out with his buddies. Hey, what are you doing? I said, I don't know. I said, I'm going to bed. What are you doing? And I said, what are you doing tomorrow? I don't know. I said, well, it's my last day. Like I'm leaving to go back to Texas and then going to Ireland. Like I've been here for 10 days and you've been up to Lake Winnipesaukee. You've been to the beach. You've been staying over your buddy's house. He's like, all right, so what do you want to do? I'm like, what do I want to do? I wanted to take you shooting. I wanted to take you Saturday, Sunday, go to Poppy and Andy's. And I'm like, but you made plans. I said, tomorrow I have to work. He just thinks I can take like any day off and not respond to emails, not get shopping, not get certain stuff done, not pay bills, not record a podcast. So yours are young, mine's going off to the Navy. So he's been there, done that. And with him, like being younger and firstborn, like you said, I was the youngest of three. I was the daredevil. I was the crazy one. My son, only child, so firstborn, and he's like cautious.
Yeah, it's funny.
So
yeah, I'm glad I still got a few more years where my kids think I'm cool, so I'll try and take advantage of those.
Mine are 13. They still, I think, a little part of them think I'm cool, but they definitely know more than I do, apparently, in all aspects of everything, especially with the ability with AI and Google. They definitely know more. But listen, it is a wonderful experience. Seeing my son, like my boy and I, we go out on the road. He jumps in my old rugby chair. We throw the ball back together. He loves like getting in my wheelchairs. I mean, it's nice because they're well-rounded. I think parents with disabilities provide, enhance a child's growth in such a significant way. Not take away from non-disabled parents, but I think, some people say, well, I can't do this, I can't do that. And I thought that for a while, but then I asked my son, when he was like 10, wrote a piece for, at the end of the year when he was transitioning to middle school, they asked for the yearbook to do a little video clip of your hero. Who's your superhero? And all the people said, well, Superman, Batman. And my son said me. And he said, my dad gets up every morning. He has challenges he faces throughout the day, but yet he's always there for me. He's always up and going, and he doesn't let things stop him. So, and he said, and there's so many others out there that are doing that. And I thought that was such a heartwarming and insightful statement for a 10-year-old kid to make, that, he recognizes. And I always thought my disability was actually something I took away from my ability to parent, but I realized how much we enhance our kids' lives. So, it's amazing being a parent,
Yeah, we definitely provide lots of opportunities to show them how to have to work through stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah. I love it. I love saying to my son, I can't, my hands are full. I'm like, I got no leg, all right, and I'm still carrying more than you. And he goes, it's like, oh, you can't do that, but wait, I can do that. And I got one leg, right? So he's a wrestler too, so he thought he was. But Matt, my son did that 13, knowing everything, so much smarter than me. And in the last 6 months, my son used to argue, question, and all that. In the last 6 months, I say something to my son, he doesn't even question me, he just does it. Very rarely does he question me. He doesn't talk back anymore, and he doesn't know it all anymore. Yeah. He's realized now, I don't know what happened in the last 6 months. His eyes started opening up, and he started maturing to a real man. And I couldn't be more proud. And same thing what you're saying about, well-rounded kids. My son's first fight he got into was with his best friend who was making fun of a kid with a speech impediment. Because my son had been around children with missing limbs and limb differences since he was 7 years old, mentoring siblings and being at camp because I worked with kids with missing limbs and limb differences, and we volunteered with Granite State Adaptive Sports, kids with autism, kids with Down syndrome, kids with spinal cord injuries, amputations, and MS and CP and different things. So he learned real quick. He was really blessed and lucky and learned to appreciate things a lot more. So you're right.
Yeah, no.
Hey, Seth, good luck with your daughter. And Matt, you said earlier, Good luck with your daughter, man. I'm so lucky I'm not a girl dad, man. Like, I got nieces, and I'm like, I would be crazy to deal with these girls. Like, they'd be locked up in their room.
She's
For
fun.
safety
She's good,
reasons,
but
like
a handful, just like my son is, in a very different way.
a different way. What? So it's the magazine or the move? What was it? I want to get
New
into that.
Mobility. New Mobility magazine, right, Seth?
Yep.
Man, everybody talks. Y'all went to digital, right?
Yeah. So we are primarily digital now. So we are, more of a media outlet than a magazine at this point. So we've got,
Yeah.
newsletters, social media, YouTube channel, things like that. But we are, we recognize the value of the print magazine too. And we just released our first kind of special edition print issue that we're trying to have at things like Abilities Expos and, that hands-on copy that can get into rehab centers and meet people where they are. So, they can flip through a magazine instead of trying to get a 20-year-old kid to go check out one more website or whatever when they're first injured. So, we recognize the value of the print magazine, and then digital is, where 90%, 95% of people are getting their information nowadays. So that's where most of our, distribution is, but it's all the same. It's, quality storytelling by and for the community, like that ethos of what we have been for the past 35 years really hasn't changed. It's, just evolving with the times.
Yeah, and how do people access the digital, Seth? Can you share that?
Yeah, so easiest way is either go to our website is newmobility.com, or we are on, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram at New Mobility Mag, and on our YouTube is New Mobility Media. And then from the website, you can sign up for newsletters as well. I know that's been a big one for people lately, when you can get information delivered directly to your inbox instead of having to go back and forth and, find when new stuff's coming out, have it delivered to you. So we've got options to sign up for our newsletter on our website as well.
It's a great resource. I mean, even before taking my job at United Spinal, I definitely referred to your magazine many a times to help me navigate resources, hear stories, figure out, how to overcome some challenges or get answers to questions. One of the nice features I think you have on your website is that you can do a search by category and pull up different articles that were written about different stuff. It's great content.
Yeah, for sure. If you want to find out information about health or caregiving or accessible home modifications or whatever, we've got categories for just about everything. And we've got, we've been around for 35 years. Not that entire archive isn't on our website, but we've got, thousands of stories going back to 2011. And, it's amazing how much of, there's new technologies that come along, but a lot of the insights and the advice and the practical stuff really holds up over time, because, people are dealing with the same challenges and just finding new ways to adapt to, live their lives to the fullest.
Yeah, like I had spoken to you the other day about, I mean, you just released a great YouTube video covering adaptive driving. Mark, he went through, I mean, it was beautifully done because it was very personal, the way you did it, because you shared about yourself and your driving abilities, but also covered, different ways different members of our community access driving, and, and considerations to have. I thought it was beautifully done, man.
Thank you. Yeah, the kind of the idea with the YouTube channel is there's lots of, disability videos out there, and, here's how I transfer into my vehicle and things like that. What we're trying to do is, like you said, one, the quality to, really make everything tight and a story that people can follow and get the information they need, and, in an engaging way. But then also, it's, if I'm making a video, to some extent it's about me and what, how I do things, but, there's 1,000 other people with different types of different levels of function, different ways of doing things. We're trying to bring some of that breadth of experience in to, show people how many different options there are for, any given topic.
Yeah. Well, you
That's
guys
amazing.
have, what was that, Mark?
No, I remember seeing that magazine. That's why I love the print, because it's like the first thing like you get and you get to flip through. It's because you don't always think about to go to the website. You know what I mean? Like you have to be reminded and you have to see it. And it's like, I love getting it and like seeing it, in a doctor's office or at a therapy location or somewhere, and like, oh, let me grab that. Oh, let me look through it. Like, and that's the thing, like Amputee Coalition, right? Like, yeah, they got these resources and they got this website. I've been an amputee for 12 years. I've gone to the website once. You know what I mean? Because I don't see it, and that's where we created the MARC Network, the Mobility Awareness Resource Community, right? Where people can share these resources, but also the resources like new mobility. Sorry, I got a dry spot. Can promote right to the community, which is on a social media feed. And it's not Instagram, it's not TikTok, it's its own entity for people to be positive and supportive. So I would love it if new mobility would get on, Seth, and you guys could, whatever you're promoting on Instagram or TikTok, we got 1,000 community members there that would benefit to be reminded to go to your site. Because I only go to your site is if I see something pops up on my Instagram feed or in my social feed and reminds me, because we never know we need anything
until you see it.
Until you see it. And then when you see it, you have to be reminded. So many people come to the Abilities Expo and they're like, I was here last year and I saw this device and I need to find it. I couldn't remember the name of it. Couldn't find them online. And then they're there and I grab the people and I walk them over to Valerie and her team. And they're not here this year. They'll tell them who they are, how to get a hold of them. But these people came all the way back to Chicago to the Abilities Expo to try to see that piece of equipment, and they weren't there. But that's where the feed, if a social feed in that community and being centralized into one location where people can advertise and they can see what other people are posting, seeing what other people are doing. It reminds us, like, there's that piece of equipment. And then they see it in your book and they go to your book and they start, your webpage, So if you, Seth, I'd love to have you jump on that community and start sharing, those articles and those videos and just links, like just promote new mobility all day, every day to our community. So they'll have these great resources and hopefully get some of their questions answered by some of the amazing things you guys have.
Yeah, that's great. We'd be happy to be on there. And, that's a big part of what we're doing now is with social media and whatnot, is just trying to meet people where they are and get into, promoting inside groups and in those communities where people are sharing resources and things like that.
It's tough in these groups that are on Facebook because some of them aren't real groups. They're meant for bad things. And same with Instagram and Meta. Is they're digging and they're holding your post back unless you pay to promote. Like, and then you're paying to promote to maybe a community, maybe not, right? So that's where the MARC Network is. We're a little bit different. We're 100% targeted market. And all 1,000 people on our app, they're on our app because they're advocates and they want to share. And then when they see something, they want to tell everybody about it. So that's what makes it more powerful. Just, I don't know. I get it. No, you're doing everything that you can in it, but it's so hard for us to find our community out there on Instagram and Facebook. You're never sure who's who, what's what. And then TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, they hold us hostage until we pay to get out a little bit and, get those new people.
And hope a few of the people that follow you are actually seeing what you're putting out there.
Posting. Yeah, I don't even see what my wife posts. I have to go to my wife's page. I'm not joking. And like look at her stuff. And she's and I'm like, I like 15 pictures. She's like, oh, you finally liked my post? I'm like, they don't show up on my feed. Everything on my feed is a sponsored ad, from like a dog thing to like a gun thing to hunting and camping and RVing. Like that's all that's on my feed.
Yeah. I get that.
I don't see my own wife's posts. I don't even see my own wife's posts.
So before we Before I pass the mic to promote your upcoming stuff, I do have a question about. So I hear through the grapevine you do some extreme stuff. Is it true that you had your wife drop you off for a camping piece in the middle of the woods to do a camping story without your wheelchair or anything else?
It is true. The anything else part, maybe no, but so she dropped me off, and yes, in the middle of the woods on Mount Hood, which is outside of Portland, with a sleeping bag and a little bit of food and my hand cycle. No wheelchair though, and yeah, I slept there that night and then got up and loaded everything onto the bike and rode home the next morning.
Was this just to test your own ability, or was this for
It was
some other
actually for a
purpose?
story for New Mobility. I was writing a story about micro adventures, so like adventurous stuff that you can fit into your everyday life. Because like I've done big adventures, I've done like big expeditions and things like that, and it takes a ton of time and a ton of money to plan something like that, and that's not something everybody can do. Even if they had the desire to do it necessarily, but there's still ways to go out there and have an adventure, push your limits a little bit, like do something fun and memorable within a weekend. Or the guy who popularized it called it like the 5 to 9, so that in between when you get off work and when you have to go to work the next morning, what can you do in that time period? And so I was writing a story about that, about micro adventures, and I figured I better go do one myself. So that was my brilliant idea.
That is commitment to your job, I got to tell you, Seth.
It was fun.
Yeah, that's honestly, I never thought of that. Like those, like little things you could do, right? Because everything that most of us, it's always big things. Like I'm always involved in these big ordeals that, like you said, take a lot. And it's like, what if you just want to go do something like that little micro? Like I didn't even see what you learn every day, Matt. This is why I
it's a
value
great
having people like
concept.
Seth.
You think of
I never think of that.
you wouldn't, like, even with my kid, right? To do a little, even camping around the block in the woods somewhere, just going away, for one night. It's an experience. It's low commitment, and I'm amazed. I don't know how you got around the campsite without your wheelchair.
Well, I didn't. I had fortunately it was a very limited time frame. So I basically sat there, and after I got dropped off, I sat there and read and went to sleep and woke up in the morning and scooted over far enough to be able to take a pee, and then back and got on my bike and put everything on it. And kind of had bars and caffeine as needed to get home the 50 or 60 mile ride that I had or whatever. But there was not a lot of moving around the campsite. I'll tell you
wow.
Well, sorry guys, I'm exhausted. I don't know about you, but I've been going all day.
No, that's all right, man.
I just keep yawning. My brain's starving for oxygen for some reason. So Seth, do you have anything coming up that you want to promote, either in personal life or in like that of, or anything with New Motion? Not New Mobility. I see New Motion.
I think we've talked about most of the stuff with New Mobility. We're excited about the YouTube channel because we really just have gotten that off the ground in the past 6 months. And then another thing we're working on that Matt is intimately involved in is New Mobility is starting to work on doing some more kind of resources and guides for people with through the work that Matt's team does at the Resource Center at United Spinal Association, and trying to just kind of collect all that huge body of information about a given topic, whether it's home modifications or driving or things like that, and resource list that actually makes sense to people and curate some of the wealth of information that's out there into a format that makes sense for people and they can easily find information about what they need. So that's kind of the big project on the horizon. We're hopefully getting the first one published in the next month or two. So you'll be able to check that out through newmobility.com and unitedspinal.org.
Any personal adventures coming up? Taking Larry into the woods, or
big one is summer break is almost over, so kids are going back to school. That's always an adventure in and of itself. Doing the sports thing, my son is starting to is going to be playing flag football and soccer come the fall, so we're going to be doing the Uber situation, taking him all over the place to do that. No big adventures, but had some fun in the summertime and looking forward to just getting back into the school routine.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you very much, Seth, for coming on today and
thank you.
Sharing your story and sharing information about New Mobility, which is a great resource. Mark, you have anything you want to share?
No, I just want to say thank you, and Seth, I love it. I love our guests. They come on and just telling their story. They always hit the key points. Ask for help, get support, accepting our situation, figuring it out, overcoming, having 2 children, living this great life that you live in. You're working, all the great stuff. New Mobility. Bowhead wheelchairs, telling us about products. Man, I appreciate it. Thank you for taking your time, and it was an honor to hearing your story, and congratulations with the gold, silver, and bronze. I mean, hey, you got all 3, right?
Yeah, thank you guys for having me and for everything you guys do.
Thank you, Seth. And listen, for those out there that are listening, tune in on September 2nd. We'll have Torsten from Just Hands Racing to talk to you about his story and about his racing career, as well as opportunities to get behind the wheel yourselves and drive a race car. So tune in September 2nd. Thank you again, Seth. Thank you, Mark. And see you guys soon.
All right, y'all. Have a good night. Great talking, man.
Yeah, man.